we can be much more accurate with the spine. So I'm just going to take this off actually and show you on both feet. So the divisions of the spine are represented amazingly by the bones of the feet. So here, between that top of that proximal phalange and the base of that proximal phalange represents the 7 cervical vertebrae perfectly. Then you've got your metatarsal bone here. That represents the 12 thoracic vertebrae perfectly. Then you've got the next 2 bones, that medial cuneiform and the navicular. That's your 5 lumbar. And then between here and here, which you can't feel the division of these bones because it's too padded with soft tissue, is the sacrum and coccyx. So I'm just going to use a felt tip pen to show you that. So we've got C1 down to C7. Then we've got, you normally have like a big head of the metatarsal bone, often where you get a bunion. That's the beginning of T1 down to T12. And I can tell where T12 is because it's the base of this metatarsal bone. And the 5th one, which we can all feel, is the same level. All your metatarsal bones are pretty much the same length. So let's just go from here to there, and there we go. There's my T12. And then from here, I'm going to find the navicular underneath the ankle. I'm finding that bony bit there, and that gives me the base of the lumbar L5. So just feeling that there. Okay, and then from relax your foot. That point to that point, halfway, is the sacrum. So I'll just do the same on this foot. So I don't know if you can see that side of the room. That's your cervical spine, 7 vertebrae there. From that point there to that point there is your 12 thoracic vertebrae. From here until that base of the navicular is your 5 lumbar, and from there until there, halfway, sacral and coccyx. So then, I've got a really good chart for you now, is showing you exactly where every one of the 33 vertebrae are found. So just take one and pass it on. So this is something to practice at home, but you can be as specific as a chiropractor using the size and shape of a person's feet. Every single vertebrae is represented there on the foot. If you can see that you've even got the brain stem just above C1, which is this area here, which is where you actually have all the cranial nerves come off. And you'll note that as it goes down, the spaces that your movement of your thumb sort of get larger because your lumbar spine is actually larger than the very small cervical or the very small coccyx at the bottom. So let me just show you how we can work that more specifically. So I'm going to do this, but just for the fact of the video. So not having our shoulders up in the air, I'm going to keep my, I could do it with my fingers. That's quite a nice technique. So I'm going to start with C1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How's that? Tender?
A little bit, but not overly.
And then from here, T1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 should be about halfway, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I can feel that. And then number 1, 2, 3. Number 3 is quite tight. 4, 5. And then S1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then last bit, the coccyx, only 4 of those. Oh, coccyx quite tender.
Doesn't feel it, but on my foot it is.
It is, yeah, right at the base.
Also, this foot is more hypersensitive than this one because when I ended up losing all my feeling in this leg, when the nerve pathways came back, everything was more
Oh.
hypersensitive.
So you can be try and be a bit more flexible with your techniques as well. So I can use all fingers to go up the spine. That's something that you might not have thought about, rather than using just your thumb. And the key to working the spine is to follow the person's arch of the foot. And I even show you on the video what my mum showed me. I go a bit too low. If you go too low, you're actually working all the muscles that support the back. So, but it's okay because you work all of it at the same time. In fact, you know, actually I haven't got any balm on that. Let's do this one. So I can use all my fingers to sort of glide up this whole area. And I can really feel the tightness in some parts. You can actually also use a nice technique that is on the video, which is, this is supporting the foot. You bend your middle fingers and then you use your knuckles to go up and down the spine. And I can also do the joints on the other side. So again, I'm working more than one area, and this is particularly good for musculoskeletal problems. So we talked about the neck and shoulders being tense, didn't we? So this is nice. I can do both the side of the shoulder and the cervical spine at the same time. So rather than just sticking to one area, you know, try and do a little bit more sort of linking reflexes together. So that's quite nice to use your knuckles up and down the spine. And like I say, we can do that, the neck and shoulders. That's a good point for the deltoid, and work the neck at the same time. And the neck muscles go all the way down onto what we would probably know as the thyroid. This is all like the trapezius. So that everything is layered, isn't it? In front of the thyroid, you've got your, obviously, sternocleidoid mastoid muscle of your neck. In front of the lungs, you've got the ribs and the intercostal muscles. It's all there, isn't it? So you might think, oh, this is the lungs, but you'd also find the lungs on the front of the foot. And where you would, if someone's broken a rib, where would you work that? You'd work it all, both sides. And you'd find a point where that broken rib is on the foot. It's just sometimes the smallest area, but it will be there somewhere. So have you got any specific things that you'd like worked on today?
Well, my neck and shoulders are quite stiff, but I think that's just from general holding all my stress in my shoulders.
Okay, so does anyone want to feel this? So that this is always here. You might think this is the lungs, but actually this is the deltoid in front of the lungs. And there's a point there. Did you hear that click? It's like a knot.
Can I feel?
Yeah.
Should I go and wash my hands?
Don't worry, it's just go.
They were washed, but I
Yeah,
washed
sure.
my
Just- It's that tightness that's held in the muscle, and sometimes you might even think that's like a bit of bone in the foot. That's not. It's a bit of congestion that's taken so long to build up that it's become hardened and feels like a bit of bone.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, my
Yeah.
shoulders.
but let me use this thumb to go in there, and if you go in quite firmly, there's a little hard lump. There, go in sideways arm. Can you feel it there? There.
It's sort of solid, isn't it? Oh yeah,
That's
I
it.
did.
So
feel
that is that deltoid muscle
Sorry.
holding that tension in that knot, which is represented by that hardness on that foot. So with musculoskeletal problems, you will find that there's a particular part that is just the problem area, and it's there for your neck. And going back to what Eunice Simon was teaching, is you try and disperse that congestion. And it's so great that you can help to release it, sometimes quite quickly, like the coccydynia story I was telling you about. If I'm really authoritative with my pressure, I'm waiting for it to almost pop. But sometimes it doesn't do that. You've got to keep working it to try and break it down. Sorry, and you're tensing your foot. So, and I also want to sort of work around the area. I want to work the front of the neck. I want to work you know, around the sides to help release the tension that's held there. So you've got to sort of think around the box. The more I keep working that shoulder will help to release the neck there.
Is it mind over matter, or I've suddenly got like more pain in my neck?
Well, the way your body's responding to this is like it's been activated, hasn't it? So I would want to keep coming back to this area throughout your whole hour of treatment. It doesn't, remember, a reflexology treatment, as much as I'm being very stimulating, will mostly be relaxing. So I'm not making it like a sort of never-ending torture of things being uncomfortable. The art of reflexology is I'm managing to work these areas, and then I do some nice things that are probably not going to hurt. So let's do the diaphragm next. And let's say we do the lungs, and so I sort of like go on from one thing to another, and then let's go back again to like the deltoid and check it again, and each time it's going to get a bit easier.
Yeah.
So that's, you're making it, well, tolerable, aren't you? And keep going back to that pelvic area too. Okay, so that's what I want you to focus on this afternoon, doing your routine that you have hopefully remembered some of it. If not, you can use the checklist. Finding that pituitary, hypothalamus and pineal accurately, and then working those divisions of the spine using whatever fingers or thumb technique, or doing that one, and see if you can be quite specific using that chart I've given you. And then the vagus nerve is something that we probably all didn't learn, and that is actually one of your cranial nerves. Now, I'll give you the cranial nerve chart, and this is something again you can practice at home. I'm going to pass it on. All the cranial nerves come from this brain stem. Now, apart from two, the first two, which actually originate inside the brain itself, and they all are innervating like anything to do with your head and neck, basically. So you've got 12 pairs of cranial nerves, the same on either foot, and how you work them is you pinch the sides of the toes. So to work like the olfactory, you do that. And then you've got your optic. And then you've got your ocular motor. So these are really useful. Like we were talking about people that had lost a sense of smell. So you'd work that olfactory one there. If you've got like problems with your jaw, it's probably the trigeminal nerve. And then you've got a lot of the ones that innervate the eye, like this one, the abducens. And then you've got the facial nerve, which can often be affected by Bell's palsy if you've got that Epstein-Barr virus. And then you've got a really good one there, which is useful, called the vestibular cochlear nerve, which is to do with your hearing and balance. And then you've got your glossopharyngeal to do with taste. And then you've got the vagus nerve and accessory nerve, which is movement of the head and neck, and the last one, the hypoglossal. So all quite specific. So that's how you work them. You pinch the sides of the toes. Just going back to the vagus nerve, it's really important. It actually originates inside the brain stem, and then it travels down from the brain stem down behind the esophagus, and then it goes down behind the diaphragm whilst it's going behind the esophagus, it innervates the heart and the lungs, so it plays a role in regulating breathing and heart rate. Then it goes down behind the esophagus into the abdominal cavity and innervates all of the digestive organs. That's why it's called the wandering nerve. And it's very much in charge of all the things to do with your rest and digest part of your parasympathetic nervous system. So if you stimulate the vagus nerve, and we're stimulating it here on its journey down into the abdomen, but you can obviously also work it there. In fact, you could just work the two together. And by stimulating that vagus nerve, you're almost turning on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is basically switching off your stress response. So people now talk about, have you got good vagal tone, which means do you get your vagus nerve activated often? other activities that help your vagus nerve are things like singing and mindfulness and slow breathing and chanting and cold water swimming, that kind of thing. It's all very much allowing your body to be in that parasympathetic state. So that's really a good one to introduce into your practice if you didn't know that already.
I don't believe we learnt that.
No, I didn't.
No.
It just, we didn't know about it really. It's a recent, like talking about fascia. People talk about the vagus nerve a lot now. And then lastly, I'm going to show you an easy way to find the kidneys. And it's using the bones of the feet. So, knowing where the fifth metatarsal bone is, I am going to run my finger along and I'm going to find the base of the first metatarsal bone. Okay, so the kidney is directly beneath it. And I'm almost going up towards where that bone is. So if I do that, I found the kidneys. And the kidneys should, just like to foot again, sorry, they feel like a sort of muscular, gritty, almost gristly part of the foot. Once we know we've got that, that's how I'm finding that. I can just basically find the kidneys like that, right underneath that bone. Bit uncomfortable? Okay, so that's so much easier than anything else that you might have been shown before. And then each adrenal gland literally sits on top of each kidney, doesn't it? And they're always hard to find, but not if you use this method. I've got the kidney there, 1 millimetre above, and I've got the adrenal glands. And they feel different, don't they, then? And what tells the adrenal glands what to do? Too much adrenal fatigue, that HPA axis, we've got to sort of tell the pituitary gland and the adrenal glands to calm down. You work the two together. So I found that one, I can find that one, pituitary, and link them together. So I'm going to hold for 10, if that's okay. Relax your foot, and it should dissipate. Hopefully a bit easier. Okay, so that's, let's just say that suffice. So you can see I've linked these two really important parts together. You can also link the vagus nerve with the hypothalamus. So there's more information for you this afternoon, linking techniques, which is basically lots of possibilities of linking reflexes together. So you can start maybe thinking that, oh, I can make